some volume here.
All right, let's go ahead and get going. Welcome everybody to Friday, April 10th Rotary meeting, virtual meeting, our second one. We do have some guests on here as well, and I welcome all our guests that are visiting Rotarians from other clubs, as well as anybody on YouTube Live who cannot log in through Zoom. So we have that streaming right now through YouTube Live. So if you know of anybody that's having problems, they can log in via the YouTube Live. Also, just let everybody know, we had just over 40 some Rotarians last week online through Zoom, and since then we've had 25 views of our Rotary meeting online once we uploaded it. So, and I shared that link with Xenia and Fairborn clubs as well. So once again, we are on a time limit with what is allowed through Zoom. So I would like to, we have two guests today. So first of all, I'd like to introduce our first guest, our very own Rotarian, Nathan Hiester, who's going to introduce our other guests. Nathan's going to go through some of the things that we're doing locally in the Beavercreek community to respond. Also, I'd like to thank Mike Zwick. He has lined up our next 3 virtual meetings and guests there. So we'll continue doing this until the federal or state local governments say we can start meeting again back in at the Beavercreek Golf Club. So I'll turn it over to Nathan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Wanted to take the opportunity to introduce Jane Piatt from Fairhaven. She's the outreach director, and connected with her through Beavercreek campus pastor Nathan Jager as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to her to talk a little bit about some of the outreach activities that Fairhaven Church is doing in our community.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Actually, it's Nathan that you wanted to have, but he couldn't be here, so you get me. What we're doing through the community for the COVID crisis it's twofold, but within our own church, we developed a like a matching system we took people that have needs with people that are able to meet needs, and there's a system that we created to connect the two of them. So we're just kind of a connecting agency for that. The broader scope is that we joined with Shoes for the Shoeless to do what we called it Boxes of Hope. But what it is asking people to bring a week's worth of food, which is 10 meals in a box. And then we're taking the names from the Dayton Food Bank and St. Vincent's and some miscellaneous organizations. Like there's one that has some cancer patients and things that people can't get out to get the food that they usually can. A lot of people utilize their local food pantries, which are filled from the food bank, but then the pantries had to close. So then that sends everyone down to the food bank. But if you can't drive or you don't have transportation or physically can't get there, you're out of options. So we're kind of filling in that gap with Shoes for the Shoeless, and Chris created this system of asking for donations and then splitting up the list of people and having, right now she has 2 church hubs. Fairhaven is one hub, but we're working with Fearless Church, Lutheran, St. Francis, and Life Point. That's one hub. Should we score that? We say that was about a 7 on the burp scale.
I'm going to mute me now.
Oh, sorry. I couldn't resist. The other hub is First Baptist of Kettering, Southbrook, Apex, and then Living Word and Centerville Community are doing emergency runs. So every 3 weeks, we take the people that are on our lists, boxes of food, and it provides food for them for 3 weeks. So in essence, it's 30 meals. So that's what we're doing. It's a big undertaking. It's just a lot of background logistics and things, but all the people are vetted through the agency so that we can be, I'd say 98% sure that we're feeding the people that need it. And then I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Care Portal, but Care Portal is something that Fairhaven does internally, but it's a national organization, and it's a technology platform that does exactly what I said earlier. It takes people that are in need and matches them with people that can meet needs. But there's a middle vetting agency. For us, with Care Portal, we use the State and Children's Services. So we're trying to keep kids out of foster care. And so the social workers will send through requests for families that need just a little extra help. For sometimes it's beds, sometimes it's food, sometimes it's clothing, school uniforms. We get that a lot, to help keep kids at home with their biological families. And the only reason I'm mentioning that is because Care Portal was asked by the Federal Department of Health and Human Services to create a version of their technology specifically for disaster relief that can be launched across the nation, and any organization that wants to get involved in helping or has needs can vet those, send those through, and then that shoots out to the local churches that have signed up to be a part of it, and then the church comes and then fills the requests. And they do have practices in place for the COVID-19 and how to safely do that kind of thing. So if you want to learn more about that, if you're an organization that feels like you have clients that you could use to vet requests on their behalf, like the cancer center that we're helping, you could do that. Or if you're on the other end and you feel like I have a good source of people and we could respond to requests for people in our community, you can sign up to do that as well. It doesn't cost anything. And it's just it's a fantastic system. We've been using it for about 1.5 years, and it's just been a great way to make sure that you're meeting needs where they're really real. I don't know how else to say it, but I mean, you could go out on the street and find anybody that needs help, but you're always wondering in the back of your head, is this legitimate? Are they scamming me? Are they, yeah. So it's just a safety thing. Does anybody have any questions?
What kind of needs are you seeing now? Is it more food? Is it, clothing? What are we seeing from the community, the immediate needs? I mean, we've been seeing pictures like this morning on the national news of these long hour wait lines for food banks.
I would say it is mostly food is the largest one. And it's people that are working, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term, but working poor. So we have the people that are still in the healthcare industry that still have to go to work, and now their kids are all at home during the day. And their supplemental food is not going to make it through. So we're getting a lot of requests for that. And then our elderly who can't get out, don't have any way to get out to the food bank, or I don't know how the food bank is keeping it straight with all of the people they're getting. So we're kind of filling in that gap, and definitely food is the largest request right now.
I have a quick question. You said that you were working with Shoes for the Shoeless on that week's worth of food, which was 10 meals. Is there like a list of items, like specific items that you want in each of those packages? Because I'm not very creative when it comes to feeding my own.
Yes. Chris Horlocker, the Shoes for the Shoeless lady.
Yeah.
This is her second round. So she did her first round with the first hub, and then they changed the list and they put it out again for the second one. So we're getting ready to do our third on April 29th. A Wednesday is when we'll deliver the food. We'll collect it on the 26th, the different hubs. We actually do ours on the 26th, which is a Sunday. The other hub does theirs on the 27th. But yeah, on her website and on any of the churches that are part of it, there will be a list of specific items. It's a little deceiving because it'll say like one box of food will have 10 meals in it, but you can't fit all 10 meals in one box. And if you can, then you can't lift it to carry it. And we're relying on volunteers to take these boxes to these families. So 2 boxes or 2 of those really big, nice reusable grocery bags will work. But yes, there is a specific list, and she'll be coming out with that probably in the next week as we start to get people to start donating before we do it again.
Thanks.
Mhm. And just the kind of items that are on the list, we try to do high protein. So it's like canned chicken with cream and chicken soup and noodles, so they can make a casserole, or pancake syrup and pancake mix that you only need water for. We try to not put things on the list that require milk because we can't provide fresh produce or dairy products. So trying to keep that in mind when we create the shopping list. So there are things they only have to add water to, and canned goods that will last. Anything else?
Any other questions from anybody? Well, Jane, thank you for coming and being our guest today. And hopefully between YouTube Live, we'll be able to get this out and get the information out to more than just the club and the members that are on here today.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
So Jane, they can find that list published on fairhaven.church, correct? Or is there a specific website to go to find that list if somebody wanted to donate to that?
Any of the churches, so yes, fairhaven.church or Shoes for the Shoeless. I don't think they put it on their website, but they do put it on their Facebook page. So yes, those are 2 places you'll find it.
All right, thank you. All right, and our second guest is our very own Chief Hiester, and I wanted Chief to talk about, we heard last week from, what we're doing on a county level in regards to public health, but how we're going to respond here locally to calls. Obviously, you might have seen on the news, the convention center is being converted as we speak in the next couple days to a 460 bed capable center for patients in the Dayton area. So I'll turn it over to Nathan.
So the fire department is still in a planning phase at this point. We haven't seen any increase in calls. We are taking extra steps to protect our personnel to make sure that they are as safe as possible, because obviously the impact for us if somebody is exposed is a quarantine option, and so that impacts the available workforce for us to have. So we're taking as many precautions as we can for that. We've actually seen a decline in call volume over the last couple of weeks with the stay-at-home order, so we have not been as busy as we normally are. But to that end, our administrative staff and our officers within the fire department have been extremely busy in the planning process. So a lot of the steps that we're taking now were put into place after the H1N1, basically the H1N1 process many years ago. So we've had a lot of the protective equipment on hand in quantities that were usable before their expiration date, and we just cycle through those normal things. So now we have a certain supply available, and we're working with that. So we're taking steps to then acquire things to backfill those pieces as we use them. So we have the respirators and the gowns and so forth on hand, the gloves on hand, the masks on hand. We just have to look for ways to basically replenish that supply as we use it. So we're in that mode. We've been monitoring the situation since January. Most of our chief officers are participating in weekly to sometimes daily conference calls at different levels within the region, within the state, some even at the national level, to kind of keep a good pulse of what we're going to see in our area based on what everybody else has been seeing. To this point, we have supply streams in place that we have adequate stock of personal protective equipment and medical supplies both. We have the plan in place with the hospitals so that we know where to take the patients if we see an influx and how that's going to work, including how the convention center plays into that. So all of our patients basically go in through the ER and then they'll tell us where to go from there. And if that changes, they have protocols in place that would then redirect our folks to the alternate transport destination. From that particular perspective, everything is still running as normal, and we haven't had to act on any of the plans that have been put in place. Internally to the fire department, we've also looked at our staffing model, our resource deployment model, and have put in place a significant number of triggers. So if this, then that type of a thing. So if our staffing drops below a certain level and we can't get overtime in to fill it, then we know how we're going to take our chief officer staff and deploy them on the street, or how we're going to cancel vacation leave and other types of leave to keep adequate staffing available for responses. We've also put into place policies to try and work remotely as much as possible, but our difficulty or our challenge with that is that all of our staff are essential personnel. So the fire department wouldn't run without our office manager, our administrative assistants in place, because if you really think about it, we still need to acquire the supplies to do the job. We still need to file the run reports so that we can track our patients and get their records where they need to be. So it's very hard for us not to, or to say that any of our personnel are not essential, because they all play a critical role in the total outcome for every patient and every service call that we take. So some of our staff have been able to work remotely, but that's been a fairly limited basis, and they're still coming in on certain days of the week as well. So we're trying to limit the exposure within the office staff so they're not working right on top of each other, so that we can all stay healthy. But at the same time, we have to balance that with what the needs of the organization are to deliver service to the community. With that, was there anything else you wanted to add to that, Alex? I know you've been on quite a few conference calls in the process.
Yeah, we received, just to let everybody know, we do, as I mentioned last week, and the public health commissioner also mentioned, and we receive daily updates, national numbers, state numbers, regional numbers, as well as Greene County numbers. I can tell you this morning we have 25 confirmed cases in Greene County, with a possible 10 that are waiting on test results. So essentially, potentially 35 cases. We have 7 to 8. One is waiting for a test, but currently 7 confirmed patients in the hospital with confirmed COVID-19 results. So that's just Greene County. So that just means they're either admitted to Greene Memorial Hospital, Soaring Medical Center. And then, of course, Greene County, unfortunately, we have 1 death related to the COVID-19. So we have seen, you might have seen on social media, that one sheriff deputy was diagnosed, and I think the sheriff put out just the other day on social media, back to work, which is great news. I can tell you none of our staff in the fire department or our substation staff here for law enforcement have been quarantined or have tested positive for it. So, but it's going to be interesting to see where we go. I don't know with the convention center. That just happened this week. They're going to be doing some major modifications to the convention center to make it capable of holding patients. We don't know if that's going to be overflow for non-COVID-19 or potentially all COVID-19 or people having signs of it as well. So I will tell you that all your city managers and township administrators and county administrators are meeting twice a week virtually on video conferencing to discuss current revenue issues, public safety issues, public service issues, and everybody's dealing with the same thing. You know, we got to get out, we got to cut the grass, we got to make sure the roads are open, right-of-ways are cut, traffic lights are working, and then, of course, responding to our regular calls. As Nathan said, we're about 7% down, not uncommon in the Dayton region. Everybody I've talked to in the last couple of weeks I've seen a dramatic decrease in calls, whether police or fire. We have seen a little bit of increase of COVID-related law enforcement calls. Knock on wood, nothing here in our community, but some break-ins to businesses that are closed. And you might have seen that on some of the local news as well. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions to Jane. And Jane, I'll point out, Jane did post some material on the Zoom group chat, and that's on the screen. You can also see that on YouTube Live. So is there any questions for any of it?
Alex, I have a quick question, and I don't know if you had mentioned this or if there's somewhere else to find this, but is there a list of like the local Beavercreek restaurants that are still open? I mean, I know Pizza Dive is, but any other restaurants that like we could partake of? I'm not really good at local restaurants.
Yeah, the chamber has a web page that shows those that are the chamber members that are open.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, the chamber, as Mike mentioned, has its own web page related to COVID-19. So there's other material out there as well for small business administration grants and loans that are available, and then the list as well.
Thank you.
All right, there are any other questions? All right, Mike, can you let everybody know our 3 next virtual meeting guests?
Sure. Next week, we have Larry Hanskin, who happens to be the voice of the Flyers. He's got a lot to say right now. The week after that, on the 24th, we have Mr. Sprague, the State of Ohio Treasurer. He's pretty excited to be able to do this, and he hopes to be able to come down and see us in person later on in the year, maybe. I've also talked to Gussie Jones about doing a presentation on Owens Place, and I'm waiting to hear back from Bob Grant from Wright State. I think he's going to present on May 1st. And if any of those, if we're back in session by then, we'll just bring them live.
All right, thank you, Mike. Since we have time left, anybody have any virtual happy bucks?
Hey, I see Lampton on here. Maybe he could do his sergeant gig.
All right, any virtual happy bucks? Don's got a phone call.
I have a happy buck. I really enjoyed these meetings. It's the highlight of my week.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll mail it to you.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other? All right. Anything else for the good of the club?
Well, I'll just mention, for those that are on here, check your email. I did send out invoices. I had to send them out a couple times to some people because the treasurer is getting old and can't get it right the first time. But check your email. You should have a bill. I only billed for June meals. We had 2 weeks off in March. We're not here in February or in April. I don't know if we're going to meet in May, so we'll back bill anything we meet in May. So you can take care of those, mail them to the P.O. box. I'm going to venture into the post office once a week under heavy guard, looking out for people so that I'm more than 6 feet away, and pick up the mail.
Remember, it's 6 feet away or 6 feet under.
I just want to wish everyone a happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Thank you. Is there anything else or any other comments from anybody? All right, good. Everybody have a great weekend, a great week. Happy Easter to all. I will look forward to next Friday's virtual meeting, and I will be also uploading the video once it's done so we can share it through the YouTube site as well. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.